All right, I'm here with an updated look at my PlayStation 4 collection. I don't think I've updated this collection in quite a while. Probably since PlayStation 5 came out, I don't think I've updated it, but I like the PlayStation 4 a lot. One of my favorite all-time game console libraries. And a library that's still great to go back to, backwards compatible on PlayStation 5, I go back to this library quite a bit. There's a lot of great stuff here. And right now, it's cheap for the most part. I mean, there's some games that kind of went up, but for the most part, you're getting stuff for pretty cheap. So, might be a good time to start looking at this library. So, we'll start first with a great one 13 Sentinels Aegis Rim. This is an awesome game. So, this is from Vanillaware, and this is also available on Switch too. But this is just an awesome game. It has great, bizarre story, really cool real-time strategy gameplay mixed in with like a 2D adventure game with fantastic visuals, fantastic art style. Highly recommend this. Can't, go too much into it because the whole story kind of is a big driving force of it, so I don't want to give too much away, but very, very cool. Next up is another pretty unique one, 428 Shibuya Scramble. So this is an old Spike Chunsoft visual novel was originally released for the Wii, and this was the first time we ever got this game. Something with the lighting does not like this specific cover. I don't know why. But this is a really great one. You have some choice-based stuff in here, so it's not straight visual novel only reading. There's some choice-based stuff where you have to play out different scenarios of these different weird characters, and then try to see where your things are going to go, try to make a right choice that'll affect something on another path so you can continue on another path that gets locked. Really cool game, really unique game, great story. That's another one that I think is like a must play if you're into that kind of game, for sure. One that I don't really see brought up as much, but it's fantastic. Uses like real, it's real photos. Not so I know that might be a turnoff for some people, but it's a great game. Batman Arkham Knight. I like Arkham Asylum the best. I always have, and I felt like they kind of went downhill a little bit with the open world and all that, but I'm not going to get into that. This one, I've seen a lot of people, especially when the Gotham Knights came out, that were showing how good this game looks visually all these years later, and it still looks great visually. I liked this one more than Arkham City, but I didn't finish it because I got some kind of weird game-breaking game. I think I just said brain-glaking glub. Game-breaking bug. Wow. Okay. And that I couldn't get through it. It probably was patched, but I was kind of like, oh well. I was like right at the end too, but I enjoyed what I played of it. But the stuff with the tank that you had to do when you used the Batmobile as a tank was not my favorite. But got another Batman game here, Batman the Telltale series. I like this one a lot. This is the only Telltale series I've ever played. Is the first and second season of Batman. The second season I just got digitally because these stupid season pass discs are so ridiculous. But the first season of Batman is great. The second season of Batman is not very good. The first season of Batman is great though. Great story-based Telltale game. We got here Bloodstained Ritual of the Night. So this is Igarashi from Konami, kind of the man behind the Castlevania, more modern Castlevania, I guess, starting with Symphony of the Night. And he went off, did his crowdfunding thing, and made this one. I played a little bit of it, and then I didn't get too far. It's one I'd like to go back to, but from what I can tell, pretty big success for a crowdfunded game. Always a little hit or miss. Chaos Child. So this copy's still sealed, but I played this game on Switch. The localization, the P-Cube localization, which I think is also what they use on the Switch, a little shoddy, a lot of typos, but a great visual novel. It's bizarre to me that they released this game in English, back when it came out, because it is pretty much a sequel in a lot of ways to a game called Chaos Head, which is the first game in the science adventure series, and you can tell that by the little semicolon. So Steins Gate, Robotics Note, Anonymous Code is the newest game in the series. Very weird that they put this one out with no English release of Chaos Head, but they did on the Switch release Chaos Head and Chaos Child double pack. Not on PlayStation 4 though, so I don't know why. Well, I can probably guess why. But Chaos Child is a great game. One of the best, I would say second best science adventure game under Steins Gate. Fantastic great game, fantastic story, but I would recommend on Steam or on Switch getting that double pack and playing both those games. Both definitely worth it. But I got this when I was first getting into science adventure. I was like, I'll just get a copy before it gets expensive. So never got around to playing it, and then I played it on Switch. So Crash Bandicoot Insane Trilogy. This is a fun little package of the old Crash games in like a really well done, remastered, remade kind of way. Still keeps a lot of the same feel to the game, but just all new visuals and everything. And this was fun to play through back in the day. Like first Crash game, I think is kind of a pain. It's pretty tough. I mean, they're all pretty difficult in their own way, but the first Crash game has some stuff that's like, hair pulling. But I think Crash 2 and 3 are both pretty fun games, and it's good to have them here. But I was really actually blown away with Crash Bandicoot 4. This was developed by Toys for Bob, and this is one of the best like 3D platformers, not from the Mario series that's come out in a long time. One of my favorite platformers I feel like I've played that wasn't from Nintendo since like Rayman Legends. I thought this game was great. I really thought that Toys for Bob did a great job on this one, and it was a shame that the Toys for Bob is just, I think, working on Call of Duty. Did they make that Crash like Battle League or whatever that game was called that I feel like no one on Earth played? They might have had to make that multiplayer game that no one played, rather than just a solid platformer, which is a shame. Death Stranding. So Death Stranding is it's in my top 10 of the games from PlayStation 4. I think Death Stranding is so fascinating. I think once you get what it's going for, and I know this is going to sound pretentious, and I know a lot of people don't like this, and I know that a lot of people, it's just not going to be something that they like. It's divisive for sure. But once you get what they're going for, and once you're able to get like a rhythm down with the game, it's fantastic. And of course, with Kojima, his strange sensibilities when it comes to storytelling and his just bizarre characters really makes for a fascinating time. And I'm really glad I'm a Metal Gear Solid fan. Less so as the games go on, but I am a Metal Gear Solid fan. But I'm really glad that he is on something else. Doing something different than Metal Gear Solid, and interested to see where Death Stranding goes. Hope they don't make him like run that into the ground, but interested to see where it goes. Destiny. So when I got PlayStation 4, I got it second year when the white Destiny bundle came out. So I wanted the white system, and it came with Destiny. I played like maybe 2 hours. It's just not for me. I am not games as a service kind of person, so it was not going to be the game for me to begin with. Devil May Cry HD Collection. This is a pretty good HD collection. It's kind of weird. I know just the way the games are made that all of the pre-rendered cutscenes are in 4:3 and not very high quality, and then the game itself is up-res, so it's a little bit jarring there. But I really appreciate Capcom, and they're probably the kings of this, of just having their old games just playable on modern hardware. And this is something that I think is really important, is just being able to go, and they put this on PS4. PS4 games are going to work on PlayStation 5. We can assume that they'll be working on PlayStation 6, 7, 8, 9. Like, we assume that we're going to have the same library forever. So, some kid who was born in, in 2015, sometime in 2030 can be like, I've never tried Devil May Cry. Those are some old man games. Let's go try those out. He can go get the PlayStation 4 version on his PlayStation 7, and he can play these games, and it's like, I think everyone wins. I mean, Capcom gets a little bit of money off of some games. We have this stuff easily available on modern hardware. I really give them a lot of credit. They did it with Resident Evil. They did it with the first Onimusha. They did it with Phoenix Wright. They're doing it, with all kinds of things, and I think that's awesome. And some other companies are great with this too. Sega. I think Nintendo's getting better with this as time goes on, but I really like that way of doing it. It's a little bit of a rant, but I really, really like when companies just are like, okay, our stuff is available on, 100 plus million PlayStation 4s and, 40 million PlayStation 5s and 100 million Switches. Like, you can get this easily. You don't have to beg for us for it. You don't have to go track down a PS2. It's great. Devil May Cry 5. Awesome. I mean, I didn't finish it. I want to go back to it. I didn't finish it. I should probably just get the special edition and play it on PS5. But what I played of this was just great. Just some of the most like peak action, character action combat up there with like, I think Bayonetta 3 is another one of those, but I think this is probably edges it out a little bit. But fantastic combat. Just bizarre and crazy as ever, too. Can never be mad at that. Got some Doom. I got these for real cheap, and I would like to dive into these at some point, but just haven't yet. Doom Slayers Collection. I got this for like $10 from GameStop. It has Doom 1, 2, and 3 on like a digital download, and then it has Doom 2016 on like the disc, which it just comes with the PlayStation Hits disc. Really great. I got that for like $10. Cool deal to have. Just cool once again to have some old games. I played the demo for Doom back in the day, Doom 2016. I really liked it, but I got really motion sick from it because it's so fast paced. But then I realized like, that was like the first time I realized like, motion blur does not work well for me, especially in fast paced stuff. So I'm wondering, I'd like to go back to play this one again. And I'm wondering if I just turn off motion blur, if I'll be good to go, but we'll see. Might have to pop a couple Dramamine to play Doom 2016 on my sofa in my game room because I'm just that down bad, I guess. Doom Eternal, this was another, I think I paid like $15 for this, like the year it came out. So I have that ready to go for whenever I want to play that one. Dragon Quest Builders, I really liked this one. I played this one a ton. It was one of those games where I didn't finish, but it's like I just played this a bunch and I got my fill and I was good to go. Just a fun kind of take. It's kind of like the ideal Minecraft for me because something like Minecraft where you don't really have a general purpose, and I know you can have a general purpose, but there's not like a story or there's not something driving you to go build something. So being able to kind of come in and be like, okay, you're trying to build up your town and you're trying to do this and that really got me a lot more invested, and I really like this one. I never played the sequel or anything like that, but for what it's worth, I would say it's a good one. All right, let's kind of get this back. We'll start a new pile now with more Dragon Quest. The mouthful of all game titles right here. Dragon Quest Heroes, The World Trees Woe and the Blight Below. This is a Dragon Quest Musou from Omega Force and Koei Tecmo. And yeah, I mean, what you would expect out of that game is what you get out of that game. It's Dragon Quest. I almost said Dragon Force. I really want them to make a Dragon Force Musou with the band Dragon Force. Hopefully they do that. Final Fantasy VII Remake. I was really blown away with Final Fantasy VII Remake. They had the whole thing with, it was originally announced in 2015. CyberConnect was developing it, who makes like Naruto games usually, not the highest pedigree. And it was kind of lingering, got canned from CyberConnect, and then Square Enix took it back. Tetsuya Nomura didn't know he was directing, all that stuff. But once the game finally came out, like 5 years later, it ended up being great. It really surpassed my expectations and is one of the best games of the past couple of years. As of recording this, we recently, about a week ago, got the next trailer for Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, and it just looks fantastic. And without going into spoilers, I really like how they decided to handle what they're going to do with this remake and how they're differentiating it from the original, because really clever, and if they can stick the landing and pull it off, I think there's something fascinating is about to go down here. Got more Final Fantasy. One that I can never really get into, Final Fantasy XII, The Zodiac Age. I've tried Final Fantasy XII a few times, and it's never clicked with me. I don't know why, but just one I've never been able to get into. Final Fantasy is interesting to me because they're all different. And I really like, someone said, like, I would like to see the reviews of Final Fantasy 16 based off of, like, at the beginning of the review, you say which Final Fantasy games you like. And I know that was a joke, but I was like, I really like that actually, because Final Fantasy is such a series where you can be like, yeah, I love the classics, I love playing the more job-based ones, or I like the PlayStation era, or I like the more in-between, 13, 15 era. I really liked that idea, actually, because it's just such an interesting way of looking at it, because no two Final Fantasy game is the same. And I like that about it, but sometimes that means that I don't like 12 very much. But I am one of the sick freaks who really liked 15 when it came out. I've not played it since it came out at the end of 2016. And I feel like if I went back to it now, I wouldn't like it as much as I did. So I'm kind of just like, I'm going to leave it there. I'm not going to replay it. I'm going to leave it where it was and remember it as being one that I enjoyed quite a bit back then. And, maybe I would like it a lot now. Maybe I wouldn't. I don't know. But from what I remember, I really enjoyed Final Fantasy 15. And I thought it was great. Another one I didn't play too much of, but I didn't really care for all that much. Final Fantasy Type 0 HD. This was a PSP game that released in Japan that we never got, that they ended up putting in HD on PlayStation 4. Very cool, but just not really for me. I don't know. And then this one I have not played, but I've heard good things about it for the most part. I'm not familiar too much with Fist of the North Star, so I want to brush up on it first before I ever probably jumped into this. But this is a Fist of the North Star game made by the Ryu Ga Gotoku studio. They do, obviously, the Yakuza Like a Dragon games, stuff like that. So they made a Fist of the North Star game that I guess is just like that. So I picked this one up because I just wanted to have it. Would like to try it out at some point because I'm a big fan of that series, but have not done it yet. So we'll see when that happens. Next up we got Ghost of Tsushima. So this is one that I played a bunch when it came out. I didn't finish because I was like, man, this is one of the most stunning games visually of all time. And then I was like, they're going to put this on PlayStation 5. Like, they're going to port it, so I'm going to save it for later. And they did port it, and it's one of those things now where I'm like, as soon as they announce a sequel to this game, I am going to go back and play through the PlayStation 5 version of Ghost of Tsushima. Because I really liked what I played of this game. I think it's a great way of, like... I feel like you have, like, the basic open world game. And I feel like this is kind of the pinnacle of the basic open world game. And I don't mean basic in a bad way, but like the kind of, there's markers on your map and you climb the Ubisoft towers and you do this and you do that. And this is, I feel like, the most interesting way that they've done it. It's visually really impressive. And I always liked like the more diegenic way of playing, where you have like the wind guide you where you want to do instead of some big arrow or something. Really great game. God of War. I really like the God of War reboot duology, I guess we're going to call it. I think I like Ragnarok a little bit more. It's a little bit more of what I'm looking for out of something like this, but I think this is still a fantastic game as well. Just really fun, really fun combat. The story is solid, and it's really well acted too, which I enjoy. You don't always get that in games. It's becoming more and more common, but something like this is definitely like on the upper echelon of that. And visually, of course, fantastic. Even if this is a game from 5 years ago now, still holds up really, really well. But yeah, overall, I really like what Sony did with God of War. I never really got into the old God of Wars. That's not really what I was looking for out of that, but I enjoy the new ones. All right. Horizon Zero Dawn, I've never, ever been able to get into this game. And I remember when they first showed this game, I'm like, man, that game looks pretty cool. I feel like this could be a great series. And I have just never been able to get into Horizon. Like, I've tried it a couple times, started it up a couple times, and I just find it kind of boring. I don't know. Something about it, nothing about it clicks with me. I just find it, like, really, really boring. Like, I just find the combat's fun, I guess, but I just find everything about it just kind of dull. So hate me if you want, but look, I just went 2 Sony first-party games in a row and praised them, so guess what? Now you can't call me Sony Pony, or whatever stupid fanboy stuff you say. It Takes Two. I played through this one in co-op, because it's co-op only, with beloved Monster Hunter YouTuber Sky85. We went to marriage counseling together on this one, and this is a really clever game. Another really strong platformer, and just really a lot of fun. Really like this one. Someone in the comments going to comment about how I said really and great a bunch, but I'm going to be talking about PlayStation 4 for like over an hour. When you're talking over an hour on a video, you just say things, it just comes out. So you can only make fun of me for saying really or great or using the same word over and over again if you make a video of you talking and it's the most erudite, incredible video of all time and it's over an hour long. And then I'll say, okay, make fun of what you want. But till then, we're going to talk about Judgment. Judgment is another Yakuza Like a Dragon kind of spin-off series. It's more like a sister series, I guess, where same world, same kind of general idea of a lot of things, same maps in a lot of them, but you look more at, you're a detective looking more into stuff like that. I really like this series, sub-series. I don't know if they're going to keep going with it, but both games, I have Lost Judgment, the sequel on PlayStation 5. I think both games are really great. Got some Kingdom Hearts games. Kingdom Hearts 1.5 plus 2.5, a good HD collection of Kingdom Hearts games. We have Kingdom Hearts 2.8, which I got for cheap and never opened. That has the 3DS game as well on it. And then Kingdom Hearts 3, which I know some people were disappointed from, but I don't care about Kingdom Hearts story at all because I'm going to be honest, I just think it's brain rot. So I was like, yeah, this is a fun action RPG running around these fun worlds. Like, yeah, well, this is good. But I don't know. Interested to see where they go with Kingdom Hearts 4. I like the gameplay of Kingdom Hearts, but I don't care about the characters or the story one bit. I'm just like, oh, these worlds are fun, and I like the gameplay. This is a good time. So I'm probably not the person to talk to about Kingdom Hearts. Going back to some Sony first parties, we got Knack, guys. Knack. Knack is back. Knack smokes crack. Knack is back. But when we talk about Knack, we can't go without talking about Knack 2. Knack 2 is the game. I've only ever speed ran one game, and it's Knack 2. Go to the speedrun.com or .net or whatever it is. Look up Knack 2 co-op. I am the second, I believe, highest ranked Knack 2 co-op speedrunner in the world. No one can take that from me. It's in my Twitter bio that I am a proud Knack 2 speedrunner. And all we did to do that was we just suffered and sat down, played the game for 5 hours straight in one sitting to do that because no one else, only one other duo was sick enough to do that. It's making me ill. Let's like kind of move the stacks to accommodate for Knack over here and keep going on. The Last Guardian, this was a garage sale find. It's a promo copy with the whole thing punched out because it was actually from like a Sony employee at a garage sale or a former Sony employee. I haven't played it. I think the premise is interesting. I know a lot of people like it. A lot of people don't like it, but I just haven't. The Last of Us Remastered, I think The Last of Us is a pretty strong game. I think this is the first time I played it. I just skipped it on PlayStation 3, and then it was like a launch. When I got my PlayStation 4, it was one of the games I got. So I always kind of see it as a PlayStation 4 game. Lighting really does not like this cover. They're really over accommodating for that. But I think The Last of Us is a pretty strong game. I think it is, especially for 2013, very impressive. And, Last of Us 2. So this is another divisive one. And I'm very fascinated by this game because I think there's a lot of ways in which it could have been better, but there was like a huge outcry on this game that was, I think, completely ridiculous. I think this is a very high quality, very good game. And I think it's too long, and I think some of the pacing and the way the story is told is weird. But I mean, what they do with the story is it's risky. I think it's never predictable. It's solid. It's a strong title. One of the best on PlayStation 4 for sure. And one of the most technologically impressive games ever made, really. I mean, even 3 years later after its release, and it's on old hardware, it's a better looking and, more visually fascinating game than most games. And it's so impressive how big this game is and how everything is so meticulously detailed. It's really impressive. All right, guys, I'm not going to spend too much time on the Lego game stack, but I got some Lego games. They're all basically the same, and they're fun to go for the platinum for and everything. They used to release a lot more, but I got the platinum on all these actually. They're just, I don't know, sometimes I just not in the mood to really play a game, so I'll just throw on a podcast and just grind out some Lego game trophies or something. I don't know, it's fun, but not too many Lego games as much now. They did the Skywalker Saga, which was pretty big. I think they're kind of going for a more quality over quantity run, but got a bunch of those. Got here Life is Strange. I liked the first Life is Strange. It took a while to grow on me, but I enjoyed it. And I don't know, there's something about it. I just enjoyed it. I never played the second one. I played this one too, and this one was, for what it was, good. Different studio, to my recollection. Different voice cast, because it was during the voice actor strike. But it was still good from what it was. I never played the second one. I have the second one. I got it for really cheap, but I never played the second one. I feel like Don't Nod kind of fell off the map. They did Life is Strange, Then they did Life is Strange 2, and not too many people cared much about Life is Strange 2. And then like Vampire and what was that game? Twin Mirror and Tell Me Why. Just a lot of games that like, I don't know, I never heard anyone talk about. So maybe they fell off the map, maybe they didn't. I don't know. But and then I never finished the third Life is Strange. It was okay, but I just never got back to it. So I don't know. So let's continue on. I got this at Target for $6 on clearance, Mass Effect Legendary Edition. I'd like to jump into this series at some point. I never played these games back on PlayStation 3 or Xbox 360, just because I was on PlayStation 3 and the first game wasn't on PlayStation 3. So I never got into the series, but I've heard good things, and I've heard this is a good version to play of it. Marvel Avengers. This is one of those fascinating games of the past few years, because obviously you would think, oh, it's an Avengers AAA game, like from Square Enix, from Crystal Dynamics. This is like an easy 20 million seller probably. It's on PlayStation 4, it's on PC, it's on Xbox, it's on Stadia and Samsung refrigerator. This is an easy win. And then Square Enix was like, well, how about instead of making this fully a good single-player game, we add in a bunch of horrible games as a service nonsense that no one wants to play that's really boring and not very good. So I liked, the single player element of this game, but all the other stuff that was just tacked onto this was no, just no, which is a shame. Big shame, because the Guardians of the Galaxy game that was published by Square Enix that was just specifically a single player game, that was really good. So they could have done this, but they kind of I feel like it was just kind of greed getting into it. I don't know. Like, this is exactly what I'm talking about. Marvel Spider-Man. All you got to do is make a solid single-player game, and people want that. Like, people want that. There's always going to be a market for multiplayer games where you can monetize the heck out of it, but that's dominated by Fortnite and all that stuff. So these quality single-player games like this is going to sell well. And Marvel Spider-Man's fantastic. I think Insomniac is Sony's crown jewel easily, and they put out just fun games. They don't make the most cinematic games, and they don't make the most, visually impressive games, which their games are very visually impressive, but they make the games under the PlayStation umbrella that are like the most fun by far. And Spider-Man is fantastic. Miles Morales is fantastic. And I have no doubt in the next month or so when Spider-Man 2 comes out that will also be a great game. Medieval. This is the remake by Other Ocean. Other Ocean is now making Intellivision Amico games, so that can tell you about how well that this sold. But I got this for really cheap one time. I'd like to go through this sometime. Maybe it would be a good game to stream near Halloween or something. We'll have to see if I get some time that would work. But I always have liked the concept of Medieval. I think it's funny, like, reviving this warrior that's just kind of a loser. And I don't know, I always thought that was very charming. And just kind of interesting that they remade it on PSP and then they decided, oh, we'll just remake it again on PlayStation 4. I don't know why. Metal Gear Solid 5, Ground Zero, Metal Gear Solid 5, Phantom Pain. Everyone knows about Ground Zero. It was a big controversy because it's essentially a prologue that they sold as a game for $40, whatever. I wasn't crazy about it, but Phantom Pain I thought has a great gameplay loop. It's a lot of fun. It's really impressive. Obviously, story is not where it should be, but that was just because Konami kind of rushed it out because of the whole Kojima separation with them. But really impressive still to these day games, and these games are 8 years old now this month, so very impressive. Metal Wolf Chaos XD. This is the From Software game that was originally an Xbox exclusive in Japan, so it probably sold like 3 units. And they did a PS4 version, put it out. I'd like to do a stream of this game as well, because from everything I've seen of that game, it's pretty funny. Middle Earth, Shadow of Mordor. I don't have any affinity to Lord of the Rings, really. I saw the movies like back in a while ago, like over a decade ago, and they're good, but it's just not really my thing. I'm not really into that kind of fantasy. But this is a good game. This is a solid game. This is a pretty interesting game. They always had that Nemesis system that everyone thought was going to be in every game, and then they trademarked it, or they patented it. So now it's not in any game. Maybe it'll be in the Wonder Woman game that they're making somehow. I don't know. But Interesting game. I don't really know much about the sequel. Probably not something that I'm going to jump into, but I liked the first one for what it is. Monster Hunter World. I would like beloved Monster Hunter YouTuber Sky85 to put his opinion and thoughts of Monster Hunter World in the comments below. Got a couple of Nier games here. Nier Replicant, which I'm kind of ashamed to say I never finished. I really liked it, though. I had never played the original Nier. I played this one when it came out, and I really liked this, but I just got dragged away, I think, by Resident Evil Village, and didn't go back to this. But I really liked what I played of it. I've finished now Nier Automata, and I think Nier Automata is a great game, but Replicant is also really solid. I want to see more out of Nier from Square Enix. It's a series that they've tapped into, and they really like tapping into for like merchandising, but I would like to see where they go with this bizarre franchise moving forward. One thing, of course, to note is the music is just fantastic, but two very good games. Ni no Kuni Remastered. I got this one for cheap. It's still sealed. I played a little bit of Ni no Kuni on PS3, but I never got too far. Was really impressed with what I played, and I like level 5 quite a bit, so one I would like to get to. So, of course, I got the on clearance for $9.98, the sequel at Target on clearance, and have yet to play that too. But just, it's good to have these games when you can get them for cheap. It's good to have them on hand for one day where I'm like, you know what, it's time to dive into the Ni no Kuni duology. And I can do that without a care in the world. Okami HD. Okami's another game I really got to get back into. I played a little bit on PlayStation 3, but once again, I just like Capcom's willingness to put their classic games in a accessible format on modern hardware. Persona 5 Strikers. So I separate my games in a weird way. So all my Steelbook games are at the end of the collection, so we'll get to that. That's where my regular Persona 5 games are. I'm a big Persona fan and Persona 5 fan. And I like Persona 5 Strikers quite a bit. So it was sold originally as like a Persona 5 Musou, but it is more so an action RPG in the Persona 5 series. It's a direct sequel, in a sense. Like, the story's not mind-blowing or anything, but it's fun. It's not like too fan servicey, and it's at least better written than something like a Persona 4 Dancing All Night or the arena games or something. It's good, and I like the combat a lot. It plays a lot more like if they put Persona 5 into Final Fantasy VII Remake than if they put Persona 5 into a Dynasty Warriors. And for that, I think this is a very impressive game that they pulled together. Ratchet and Clank Remake. Very well done. I like Ratchet and Clank. It's never been one of my favorites. I really liked the PlayStation 5 game, but this is a really well done remake of the original game. And it always is a little bit weird just because they put this out with the movie that they did of Ratchet and Clank. And yeah, what movie exactly? You're probably asking that? Exactly. But I'm sure this was far more financially, sound investment than the movie was. But it includes like cutscenes from or scenes from the movie as a cutscene. It's like, oh man, but good remake of the game. Just don't know what Sony was thinking with making a movie. Resident Evil 2 remake, one of my favorite. This was my game of the year. The year this came out. Resident Evil 2 remake is fantastic. It is pretty much peak survival horror in a lot of ways. It is just such well done game. And this was my first go through Resident Evil 2. I've never played all the way through the PlayStation 1 game, but just a fantastic setting, great layout, great design, great enemy encounters, all around awesome. Mr. X coming out and chasing you down, giving you like that extra, pursuer, extra stress, extra tension. Fantastic. Resident Evil 3 remake. I know a lot of people are less high on this one than I am. I like this game quite a bit too. If Resident Evil 2 is a solid, 9 out of 10, Resident Evil 3 is a solid 8 out of 10. I think it's still good. It is shorter and it is a little bit more linear, and the encounters with Nemesis are minimal and very scripted, unlike the encounters with Mr. X. But I mean, it was cranked out essentially a year later, so that was an impressive little thing that they did. But also just I know they cut some stuff from the original game. That's not great either. If they could maybe put this one back in the oven for like a little bit longer and give us a more complete version, it would probably be up there with that, Resident Evil 2 quality game. But Resident Evil 3 remake, I still think is pretty solid. This was also developed by M2 and not in-house at Capcom, so that might explain some of it too. Resident Evil 4 remake I have on PlayStation 5, another great game as well. Resident Evil 7 is one of my all-time favorite Resident Evil games. Awesome game. I really like the first-person approach to it. I really like the setting. I think this is the scariest of any Resident Evil game. The first hour of this game is one of the best first hours in any game. It makes an immediate impression. It immediately gets you in there, tells you what you're doing, scares you. The first hour of this game is great. This is a fantastic Resident Evil game. And first one in the Resident Evil engine as well, which I always really liked. It's not actually the Resident Evil engine. It's the RE engine, which they claim stands for the Reach for the Moon engine. But Capcom has been killing it since this game. All killer, no fillers from Capcom since that game came out. And really a start of a new era from them after a really rough era. Resident Evil Revelations 2, I have not played this one. I got it for cheap. Robotics Note Elite and Dash Double Pack. So this is more of the science adventure series over from Mages, published over here by Spike Chunsoft. Robotics Note came out in 2012, and this was one that, this was the most recent one I played through just because it didn't necessarily sound like the most interesting, but once I got into Robotics Notes and played through the game, I was like, okay, this is very good. It's very different from the other games, but it is still very fulfilling, and it is still very enjoyable. Robotics Note Dash, they try to claim it's like a sequel. You will not miss anything if you do not play Dash. It's not horrible, but it's mostly filler. If you like the characters, you'll like Dash, and it's just a fun little thing. It's an easy platinum, but if you don't really care, there's nothing too pressing with the story. I would look up a summary. There's a little bit of lore for the entire world at the end of the game. I would just kind of look up a summary and see what happens because you're not missing too much. Rock Band 4. So this was maybe an ill-advised return of Rock Band that came a little bit too early. So if Guitar Hero and Rock Band both died out around 2010 and then tried coming back in 2015. And both of them flopped pretty hard. Rock Band, I think, did a little bit better. They're still supporting Rock Band, believe it or not. Harmonix is owned by Epic now, and they still put out Rock Band 4 DLC too. So shout out to them. Who knows how many people are buying Rock Band 4 DLC regularly? I can imagine it's probably in the hundreds, but I would love to hear. If anyone still plays Rock Band 4 and buys DLC, at least semi-regularly, please let me know. I'm interested if there's a community and what's up over there, because I have no idea how they're supporting still developing for this game. But I just find that very fascinating. But I'm telling you, if Rock Band or Guitar Hero came back like around right now, I feel like there's been a long enough time to miss it. I feel like we're, peak Guitar Hero and Rock Band was like 2007 through 2009. I feel like there's enough nostalgia for that era that if they wanted to bring back these rhythm game series with the peripherals, they could. But Rock Band 4, you could tell this was a bit of a budget. The set list is pretty weak. I feel like they probably spent most of their money on a 2015 Uptown Funk, which is pretty lame, and like Imagine Dragons. It's a pretty weak set list. I mean, but you get some, you pop in there, it's a whole full library of DLC for the most part is very impressive. So if you pop in there, give yourself a little budget of some songs you'd actually like to play and not just stupid Imagine Dragons, you'll probably enjoy yourself. Sakura Wars. This was one I started and didn't get too far into, but I've heard good things. The opening theme song, though, of this one is just, as the kids would say, a banger. Secret of Mana, this is like a weird re-release they did. It was exclusive to GameStop, the physical version. And, I mean, I don't really like the way this re-release goes, but GameStop was like liquidating these things, so I grabbed one. I like the cover art. Shadow of the Tomb Raider. I really like the reboot Tomb Raider series, especially the second one. I played that one on Xbox One when it was exclusive over there. Shadow of the Tomb Raider I never finished, though. I started it up and I was like, this is about more of the same. It's good. It's more of the same. But I don't know. I feel like I could get an itch for the series again, just this way of Tomb Raider, and then want to go back to it. But we'll see what the new Tomb Raider is going to look like, because they're developing one now. Shenmue 1 and 2. This was very cool of Sega to do. They threw this out, and it's just a pretty solid HD port of Shenmue 1 and 2. Shenmue is a fascinating game because something like this is so remarkably ahead of its time for when it came out. Visually, it's so impressive, and just all the moving parts in this game are so impressive. I understand the criticism that it is a boring video game. I'm not going to argue that, because it's kind of a boring video game sometimes. And it's old and it's dated now and it's kind of hokey, but it's so impressive for what they were trying to do back in 1999. You can't, in 2000, you can't help but acknowledge what they're doing. They also made a video game called Shenmue 3 that was crowdfunded, and Sony announced this game with its crowdfunding Kickstarter on E3 2015, when on the same stage they announced Final Fantasy VII Remake. And I didn't play this. This was on sale for Black Friday for $30, like half price, before the game came out. I pre-ordered this game at its Black Friday half price, so that'll about probably tell you about Shenmue 3. The game. Every year I've done my PlayStation 4 collection, and I don't do them yearly anymore. But every time I do this, I'm like, oh yeah, Sleeping Dogs, still sealed. Got it cheap from Square Enix store on Black Friday. Haven't played it, maybe one day. Still haven't played it. There's the check-in. It's been a couple years since I've checked in, but there's a check-in. Got some SpongeBob. Some SpongeBob. You guys know the meme where it's like SpongeBob took 40 Benadryl? I like that meme. I don't know. You probably don't know what I'm talking about. But Battle for Bikini Bottom was a game I really liked as a kid, as if anyone born in the mid to late 90s will also say that exact same sentence. And they remade it, and it's a fun remake. Fun game to go for the platinum for. Good time. Cosmic Shake came out earlier this year, and it's getting ported to PlayStation 5 now, but it was PlayStation 4 and last gen only. And it's a fun platformer. Once again, if you want a PS2 era platformer, and I say that in a good way, I don't mean that in like a derogative way, but if you want fun PlayStation 2 feeling era platform games, these are good. These are good platformers, and they're the rare, solid licensed game. And Purple Lamp has done a great job with both of these. And THQ Nordic has been a good partner for Nickelodeon to do these games. They also partner with Game Mill and like Outright Games, who produce just garbage, horrible trash. So having, a real studio with a real publisher, putting out some games can be good. Spyro Reignited Trilogy, just like the Crash Trilogy. Fun little remake trilogy of these games. Who could complain? Star Ocean, Integrity, and Faithlessness. I got this one for cheap on Black Friday. I didn't play it. I've heard it's not very good. Oh well. Star Wars Battlefront. Star Wars Battlefront is a functionally fun game, a fine game to play, but just so lacking on content when it came out, and still probably is. I haven't played it since it came out, because they wanted you to pay an additional $50 for a expansion pack, which was, no, I'm not doing that. It was like out when it came out. So a fun game, fun modes and everything, but just so barren that it never stood a chance of having anything. And, Star Wars Battlefront 2, another one it came out, and I know this has a pretty dedicated fan base still. It came out, and it was a little bit messed up with their microtransactions. I've heard the story mode in this is just completely terrible as well, but it's fun. It's fine. It's just EA is going to find ways to get in their own way. Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. This is a weird one because everyone really likes this game, and when I played of this, I was like, this is kind of boring and also really glitchy. They ported it to PlayStation 5, and maybe I would like to give this a second chance at some point, but it's not high on the list right now for my first impression not being great, but it was I got that one for I think like $30, like a month later. So that'll about tell you what you need to know. Steins Gate Zero. We got some more games here of the Science Adventure series. Steins Gate Zero, Steins Gate Elite. So Steins Gate Elite is a semi-remake of the original visual novel, but it uses like stills from the anime adaptation that they did, and it uses like little clips from the anime adaptation. From everything I've heard, I would not play this version over the original visual novel. I would recommend that. And I played the original visual novel. I've not played this. I got this because it comes with a linear bounded phenogram game download for that game. So I got this, and then I added it to my library because I think the code expires. But Steins Gate is fantastic. One of the great games of all time, in my opinion, and the greatest visual novel of all time. Steins Gate Zero is also good. It is important to the lore. I'll say that much. Even though it is technically non-canon, talking too much about this game would be a spoiler, so I'm just not going to. But play Steins Gate. Play the original visual novel. It's on PC. It's on. It's locked to like Vita and PlayStation 3 for the original visual novel, though. Unfortunately, Elite is on everything else. So play Steins Gate. It's very good. Tales of Vesperia Definitive Edition. Remember when this was a 360 exclusive? Tales of Vesperia? That was weird. Tales of Zestiria, I didn't like this game. I got it, and then I was like, I think I'm done with Tales for a while. And, yeah, I just did not like this game. Something was off about this one. I don't know what, but something was off. Something's acting a little fishy. Can you believe I am still going here? I am. If you've made it this far into the video, I want you to comment. I don't know, just comment something. I know we usually do it, made it to the end too. You can do that there as well. Give me the comments. You know, it's engagement. It's good. Uncharted Nathan Drake collection. Really smart of them to do this. This is a very well done port by Bluepoint of the PS3 games. A lot of quality of life updates and still really impressive games. This was like my first, so PlayStation 3 was my first PlayStation system that I owned, and Uncharted was like the first game I played through on there. So first Uncharted, 16 years old now, but still pretty impressive. I mean, for what it is, it's not the best game in the series, and it's a little dated in some ways, but still very visually impressive, still very impressive on a lot of different fronts. And I would say of the PS3 games, Uncharted 3 is my favorite. I like the set pieces in that game quite a bit. But Uncharted 4, I would say, is my overall favorite. I feel like the series just gets better as it goes. But Uncharted 4 is very impressive. I mean, this is still one of the best looking games of all time, and it's from 2016. It's also just a lot of fun, well written, once again, well acted, you know, overall. Just really like this series. And I think it's coming back. I mean, it's pretty clear that it's coming back, but I think it's coming back. But it's been enough time where we can kind of come back. I never played to completion Uncharted The Lost Legacy. I don't know why. I just got distracted, never finished it. But that was originally supposed to be like a expansion to Uncharted 4 that they ended up making into its own separate game. Until Dawn. So this I have sealed, but I have like a digital version of this too. But so I played the Supermassive's game, The Quarry. I feel like I was like backwards. I played The Quarry and I really liked it, and I was like, oh, that was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed that. I'm gonna go back and try Until Dawn, and then I just couldn't get into Until Dawn quite as much, which is weird because I know most people like this one better. But yeah, we're still going. Yakuza 0, one of my favorite Yakuza games. This is like the quintessential Yakuza game, the game that kind of kickstarted this series over here in the United States, and it's one of the best ones. So this is the one you should start with too if you decide to play this series. So I would say jump in. The next up is Yakuza Kiwami, which is a remake of the original game for PS2. Just ignore the original game for PS2 because it has a horrible dub, and this is just a better version of it. And then I know for some reason I've been seeing in the Yakuza community people kind of hating on Yakuza Kiwami 2. I don't know why. It's another one I think is really good. And it's a remake of Yakuza 2 for the PlayStation 2 game. So as far as that goes, I think it's a great way that you can get into the series. Sega like I was talking about earlier with Devil May Cry, Sega has done a great job at making sure their games are accessible. They're older games, so you have Yakuza 0, 1, and 2 all playable here. Remade the PS2 games, got you the beginning of the series, and then they put this out, the Yakuza Remastered Collection, that has Yakuza 3, 4, and 5 HD, or remastered ports, pretty much. Yakuza 3 was the first Yakuza game I played back on PlayStation 3. Liked that one a lot. Couldn't get too much into Yakuza 4. I think a little bit too long, and it has different protagonists. There's this one storyline with the protagonist where he plays a police officer that just thought was boring. I don't know. And you never see that character again, so I'm going to guess most people agreed. But that's great. But then you have Yakuza 6 as well. Yakuza 6 I really like. This was the first one we got in the United States from the Dragon engine, which is the engine they use now. They use for Judgment, and they're using moving forward. Really, really strong entry in the title of the series. Supposed to be Kiryu's last game, although we know that that's not quite true. But Like a Dragon Ishin, I got this when I was in Japan, the first time I went to Japan. But now this is available on PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, in a pseudo-remade version, but it got localized finally. And I really liked this one a lot, too, when I played this on PlayStation 5. I thought it was a great kind of twist on the series where you play in, ancient times. And by ancient times, I mean, not that ancient, but still old. But Samurai Yakuza game just is cool. I don't know what else to say. Yooka-Laylee, this was the first and I believe only game I've ever kickstarted. So this was a bunch of old Rareware guys went over to Playtonic, started their own team called Playtonic, I should say. And this game is rough. It's a decent starting point, but I don't think this game's very good. It's not great, but it's a decent starting point over from them. And Playtonic has definitely been growing. They're more of a publisher. They haven't put out anything since this game, original from them. So I would assume they're working on something somewhat big. But Yooka-Laylee Impossible Layers. So this is not really a sequel, but another entry. This is essentially the third in the Donkey Kong Country Returns series. So if you like Donkey Kong Country Returns on the Wii and Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze, you will like this game. This is a very good 2D platformer. So while I not necessarily recommend the first Yooka-Laylee, I gotta say that one is pretty good. Zone of the Enders, the second runner, Mars. I got this on clearance at Target for $5.98. It's still sealed. I'm gonna try to put these over here. Catherine Full Body. So I'm getting into my Steelbook case games now that I put at the end. Catherine Full Body is a fantastic game. I know some people prefer the original. I mean, this is just the original playable on more modern hardware, and it has some extra content that you can ignore if you don't want to engage with it. But I like this game quite a bit. It's also on Switch and everything, but I like this game quite a bit. Super unique blend of storytelling and puzzle gameplay, and just one of the most unique games you'll probably play. Of course, from the Persona team over at Atlas as well, in between Persona 4 and 5. And you can see where a lot of Persona 5 comes from. It's a very interesting kind of midway game between those two. The Bayonetta and Vanquish double pack. So my first time playing Vanquish was through this. And I was kind of mad at Platinum. They have a shooter that good in them, and they don't make more shooters. Vanquish is awesome. Vanquish is one of the best third-person shooters I've ever played. It's fast, it's fun, it's quick to go through. Gameplay is just so enjoyable. You got that slide mechanic and everything. Vanquish is awesome. Really, really good. The Bayonetta port, of course, is very good. I'm not huge on the first Bayonetta game. I think 2 and 3 are way better, especially 2. But I'm not huge on the first Bayonetta game. It's kind of, I don't know, it feels kind of lopsided. I don't know how else to say it. But Vanquish, fantastic game. Cyberpunk 2077. So when this game originally came out, and it was all messed up and everyone hated it, I was like, I bet they already said that your PlayStation 4 version is going to be playable on PlayStation 5. I bet this game is going to be awesome when it comes to PlayStation 5. They'll fix it. It came 2 years later almost, or a little over a year and a half later to PlayStation 5. And so when they were liquidating physical copies of this game, I got it for I think $5 or $10 brand new from Best Buy. And then the game comes to PlayStation 5. I pop it in, easily am able to play the PlayStation 5 game, and I was right. The game is awesome on PlayStation 5. I never finished it. I want to go back and just do a new run of it. I got maybe 40% through the game, but I want to go back and do another run of it. But I really liked Cyberpunk, and I always kind of thought, like, I don't know if Western role-playing games are for me, because I can't get into, like, Elder Scrolls or Fallout. And then I was like, oh, maybe Bethesda is not for me, because I like this game quite a bit. Very cool. Persona 3 and Persona 5 Dancing Endless Night Collection. So I like the Persona dancing games quite a bit. I'm not going to say that this was not a disappointment from where they came from, because they're a bit content light, and they're a bit, I don't know, feel like a kind of a cash grab on the fact that they're just so content light, just throwing things out. I always had a theory that they were remaking Persona 3 just because they made all these HD assets for Persona 3 in this game, and they weren't going to just use that for nothing. And lo and behold, I was right the whole time. But as far as everything goes, I still like being able to play a rhythm game with Persona music, which I really like. And I just wish there was more video game rhythm games where you use game soundtracks, like Theater Rhythm for Final Fantasy and all that. And this, like, I wish we just had that more. I wish that was more of a thing, because I really like that concept. Persona 5. I'm going to talk more about Persona 5 Royal as far as Persona 5 goes, because I just think Persona 5 is an excellent game, but Persona 5 Royal is an excellent game with more excellent game added on top. So it's like they already made peak, and then they just went a little higher than the peak. But I think Persona 5 is such a stellar game just in all aspects of presentation, of storytelling, of gameplay. Just everything is so unique, so stylized, so well done. It is a 90-hour game on the original, 110-hour game on Royal, that does not feel that long at all. It is so well paced. The gameplay loop is so rewarding and so fun. Just stellar. Just stellar titles. Some of the all-time best. Valkyria Chronicles, Sega's kind of somewhat forgotten strategy role-playing series. I like this series a lot. I would recommend these games. They're on Switch. They're on PlayStation 4. I'd recommend giving this remaster a chance. The original came out on PlayStation 3. I'd recommend giving this a chance. It's a great game, and I think it's a ton of fun and highly slept on. One of Sega's best and highly slept on. And then going back to Yakuza Like a Dragon. So at the time I was like, oh, so, they're making a PS5 version, but the game's only coming to PS4 right now, but it's Series X it's on for the next gen exclusivity until whatever. But I was like, I kind of did well here, because I played through the PS4 version. Doesn't really matter too much. I played it. It was essentially a launch game for PlayStation 5 for me. I just played it PS4 version on my PS5. But I kind of have a great way with my collection now, where it is Yakuza ended on the PlayStation 4. And then once I got the PlayStation 5, they started calling them Like a Dragon. So on my PlayStation 5 collection, I have Like a Dragon Ishin. I'll have Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth. But I won't have, you know what I'm saying? I won't have the Yakuza series and part of the list and alphabetized. This is something only severely mentally ill people like myself would care about, but I see it as a dub, and that's how I'm ending this video out. 58 minutes of PlayStation 4. Let me know down in the comments below. First of all, if you made it this long, congratulations. If you listened to it, or even, God forbid, watched the video this long, congratulations. Let me know your favorite PlayStation 4 games, ones that I don't have for my collection that I should grab, ones that you recommend that I play that I have, that I maybe move up in the top of my backlog. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Make sure to leave a like if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're not already subscribed. And then until next time, I'd like to thank you for watching.